Okay, we had to put a new tape in and have some nice new orange juice, and we're ready to go. This was from the Hotel Maryland in Chicago, Illinois. I met with Bill Sell and Larry Cahill from the Ohio Department of Education, and met with many other people in Chicago, but made notes of different states, what they were doing in school programs. And I always made lots of notes so I could incorporate it into our program for preschool. Okay, continuing on now. Excuse me. April 11th, 1974. This was from Janice Snyder, Vice President of Preschool Mothers in Richmond Heights, Ohio. On behalf of the preschool mothers, I want to thank you for accepting our request as a guest speaker. We are all looking forward to hearing your talk on your child's safety on Wednesday, May 8th, 1974, the Mayfield Regional County Library. We feel your talk is very important and one will be of benefit to all mothers in our group. So this is still, again, while I was with Department of Highway Safety. Please remember that. Okay. Wore those many, many hats. Big ones, little ones, tall ones, square ones, round ones, flat ones. All kinds of hats. Now, we have here, it says, a record of proceedings of the incorporators, members, and trustees of National Safety Town Center. This is what it came back looking. I have the full document somewhere, but we'll find that later, that we were officially a incorporated organization, which was very, very essential at that time. This is a notice, May 9, 1974, from the Chief Public Information Department of Highway Safety, informing people throughout the state that myself and the 12 other district representatives were available for presentations of various kinds. May 10th, 1974, Joan Sturings, president of the Seroptimus Club of Santa Barbara Incorporated, California. Dear Mrs. Schladd, you have probably received many inquiries since the article about your work with Safety Town was sent over the wire service. I hope you aren't so deluged with requests that you won't have time to answer ours. It tells me the Seroptimus Club is an international classified service club, much on the order of the Rotary. In Santa Barbara, I have made inquiries and found there is no safety program as all-encompassing as yours sound. We would very much like to initiate such a program. Okay, that's how we got started out there. Okay, this letter is to Tom Kozlowski. Tom Kozlowski was our the first New Jersey state coordinator. Was a JC, was out of Lawrenceville, organized Lawrenceville program, and helped organize many within the state, including getting it adopted as a state JC project for the state of New Jersey. And this is where this letter comes in. April 21st, 1974. Dear Tom, I want to write to you concerning the Safety Town program and why I feel it is natural for the JCs to pick up as a local, state, and national project. First, I think it's important to mention that I am a former JC, having served as local external vice president, or my husband serving as local vice president, president of all the way up to vice president of Ohio JCs. And he was selected to OYM, Outstanding Young Man, in 1965. In fact, this cover letter is the one Frank wrote to Tom. As a state officer, what concerned me most was the apparent reluctance of many chapters to take on major programs of importance. All too often, chapters got into the rut of running projects such as Christmas lighting, Easter egg hunts, nice programs that I felt could be handled and done better by the JCS. Membership is always the big goal, and I feel that JCs needs a program of importance to bring attention to them. Chapters that have tackled community problems and solved them have attracted new members. The JCs need projects that they and the community can take pride in. Safety Town is such a project. It is a model program that produces the following: excellent community involvement, excellent public relations, low-cost startup with ongoing yearly residual benefits, excellent future membership potential, and explains community involvement, how that is classified, explains the public relations, the low cost, and the membership. Now, this is a letter from Mike Lynch in Pennsylvania, July 15th, 1974. Dear Dorothy, I want to take this opportunity to re-extend to you the gratitude of the Monroeville JCs and the parents of the 800 children who have benefited from Safety Town program to date. It has been almost 4 years to date that you joined me and the JCs in the opening of the first Safety Town in Pennsylvania. I can recall how apprehensive the JCs were about tackling the Safety Town project and how your constant support, advice, and reassurance carried us to the high point in the JC history of community service. Thinking back, it's incredible how a success story like Pennsylvania's Safety Town started. We moved to Pennsylvania in 1968 from Ohio and were disappointed to find no Safety Town like we had seen in Ohio. In 1971, as the Monroeville JC president, I decided to try and bring this worthwhile project in Monroeville. I contacted Safety Town in Ohio. They identified you as the person responsible for the Safety Town who could help us with our program. And help us you did. Following your recommendations, I organized a community program on April 15, 1971, and you and your husband traveled to Monroeville to present Safety Town. At the conclusion of your presentation, the community representatives and the JCs unanimously committed their collective talents to the creation of a Safety Town. Our program has served as a model for other Pennsylvania communities and has been lauded by county and state officials. The county sheriff department has publicly identified our Safety Town program as the best of its kind in the area. They have approached me regarding the creation of 2 permanent Safety Towns in 2 major county parks in Allegheny County, the largest county in the state. Safety Town has come a long way these past 4 years. I am proud to have been a part of it and to have your guidance and support through personal contacts in the Cleveland workshops. I am anxious to have you visit our Safety Town if possible. Our director, Karen Lerner, has made many outstanding contributions. Okay, and in the scope of the program. Our Safety Town closes August 8th for a 2-week session. Please contact if you can visit us. Mike Lynch, Pennsylvania Coordinator. Okay, I'm going to unstaple those because those really are not from the same state, but they are in sequential order, so that's okay. Very nice. 2 very nice letters. I'm really surprised my voice is holding up. In fact, it sounds like it's getting better. Maybe the orange juice. I had Coke earlier, now the orange juice maybe. Okay. Bicycle questionnaire. Again, I can't recall if this was discussed. I'm sure it was discussed in video number 1, but I don't think we had a sample. The reason I did this is after meeting with the Bicycle Institute people in New York, and they said there was nobody rode bicycles before the age of the 5th birthday. And of course, I knew that was true. So we sent out the questionnaire as states in that video number 1. And here's the 4-page questionnaire. So we will splice this into the other part from that. But just a few questions. Please state the age of your child. Does your child have a 2-wheeled bicycle? What age did he receive the bicycle? Name of the bike. What is the wheel size? Does this bicycle have a handbrake or foot brake? Does the bicycle have reflectors? Just on and on. What side do you feel is the safest for bicycle traffic? Right side or left side? Are there sidewalks in your neighborhood? What were the circumstances of if there was an accident, what were the circumstances? Who assembled your bike? What instruction did your child receive before riding the bicycle? And as I said, some of those responses I have on video number 1 are priceless. Okay, that's another questionnaire form. We have some duplicates, which is great. We'll just put them all together. All right, May 4th, 1974. This is the National Safety Town Center application for registration of our octagon design. This is from the law firm of Donnelly, Mackey, Venner, and Otto. Don Otto was our patent attorney, and he handled all of our material, all of our information for our copyrights and our registration. Okay. It says here, we have been advised by the Patent Office that the subject service mark, the octagon, was filed on April 22nd, 1974, and assigned serial number 19398. Okay. And, okay. The entire Veterans of Safety situation, I believe, is explained on videotape number 1. And here we will add some of this information. This is a letter dated May 17, 1974 by Quincy Tuma, because remember I had asked, I told Mildred Now back in the late 60s when I spoke to the Solon JC group that someone had asked if it was registered or copyrighted, and she said she would take care of it. She had the Veterans of Safety copyright it. Instead of putting in my name, she put it in their name. And now back in later on in 1974, when I started promoting Safety Town, they sent me a letter saying further use of this name in any form whatsoever without Veterans of Safety permission will be vigorously opposed. And that's when we went into a lot of that information, unfortunately. But that's water over the dam, as they say. And here is a long letter, August 14th, 1974. And this is, I don't know, 10, 12 pages, 8, 9, 10 pages long. I had to explain to Mr. Tuma, who was the, I don't remember ever meeting this man. I think he passed away before I met him. But just to give you just a brief overview here. Dear Mr. Tuma, August 14, 1974. A few weeks ago I sent you a letter explaining my involvement with the Safety Town program. The majority of the letter consisted of my personal involvement and feelings. I don't have that letter right now. I hope I find it. Also in that letter I stated I wanted to keep you and all members of the Veterans Safety as informed and as up to date as possible as to what is being done with Safety Town through the National Safety Town Center. This letter is intended for two purposes: to explain more of my background with Safety Town, as well as inform you with their latest development. Let's start at the beginning in 1963, and that I observed the program being too much waste of time with duck, duck, goose, and not educationally oriented. And from 1965 to 68, I continued teaching and writing the materials. I felt that since Safety Town was a safety education program, the most logical people sponsored would be Department of Education and Highway Safety and the Automobile Club and the safety consuls. Then I told my contact to the congressman and the AAA and National Highway Traffic and all these. And then going into with the Highway Safety Foundation and the Ohio Department of Highway Safety, I had to explain all that to them. Okay. I would like to suggest that a meeting be arranged so that all members of the Veterans and Safety Institute could get together with some of the people I've worked with and talk to them and so forth. In closing, I would like to again emphasize our tremendous need for immediate funding to keep the center operating. I was asking them to help us do some funding, and they were not responsive in that way. Now, Beverly Roberts, who you remember from Theater Authority, was so sweet. When she heard about they were going to stop me using this, I informed her about that in a meeting. She graciously sent a letter to Mr. Young, who, Mr. James Young, was the editor of a newspaper, and wrote an article. In fact, here's the President's column. Here's the article that he wrote. And it says, a surprise to veterans of safety is that Safety Town had a telethon last year with Sammy Davis Jr., listed as 1133 Avenue of the Americas, home of the Highway Safety Foundation. We are informed by Mrs. Dorothy Schladd, who has incorporated National Safety Town Center with offices on the 30th floor of the Terminal Tower in Cleveland, Ohio, which we did, that while over $1 million came by the telethon pledges, none was remaining due to expenses. No financial report on the telethon is available. The 1974 telethon, Mrs. Schladd said, was canceled. Safety Town, we stress, is a registered trademark of the Veterans Safety. Now, that's a lot of that's incorrect, because we didn't know anything. I don't know how much. We had no idea where the $1 million, if that's what they got from the first telethon. So he took a lot of things out of context there. But because it related to the telethon, and because it was going to interfere with the one that we were going to do, we wanted to get that cleared up, and that's where this lady graciously, Beverly Roberts, when I sent her that letter and explained that to her, she sent this letter to Mr. Young. An item in the President's column from your publication has been drawn to my attention. This item states Safety Town had a telethon last year with Sammy Davis Jr. The telethon to which the article apparently refers to was produced by and for the Highway Safety Foundation only. At that time, Safety Town was in no way connected with the Highway Safety Foundation and had no part in the enterprise in any way whatsoever. Theater Authority, the organization of which I'm executive secretary, is an amalgamation of the Performers Union and guilds, and all telethons on which members of its participating organizations are involved must be cleared by Theater Authority. The Highway Safety Foundation 1973 telethon was cleared. However, it was not until early this year that Mrs. Dorothy Schladd and the project called Safety Town, with which she has been connected for many years, was introduced to me by Mr. Butler, who was then the acting director of the Highway Safety Foundation. At that time, this organization was again seeking clearance for a 1974 telethon, and was working out an arrangement with Mrs. Schladd to support and promote Safety Town centers, in addition to other programs in operation or being developed by HSF. I found both the Safety Town project, which was thoroughly documented by Mrs. Schladd, most impressive, and their proposal involvement added considerable weight to our decision to grant clearance for a possible 1974 telethon. As you know, the telethon was subsequently canceled, and there are at the moment some unresolved questions connected with HSF. However, in no way do these difficulties reflect on either Safety Town or Mrs. Schladd, who I have found to be a thoroughly responsible, dedicated, infallible, and selfless worker for a project which ultimately can, and I think should be, developed into an important and beneficial community educational program. Since the operation of the National Safety Town Center at this time is headquartered in the Midwest, the erroneous linking of both the organization and Mrs. Schladd with an enterprise about which questions have been raised might have a detrimental effect in the public view. And boy, was that true. I certainly should have gotten, first of all, out of, definitely, well, I did get out of Mansfield, but probably out of Ohio, because so many tie-ins were in Cleveland with the Ernst & Ernst Company. It is to be hoped, therefore, that the erroneous impression conveyed by the aforesaid item in the Safety Journal can and will be corrected in the interest of both accuracy and equity. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Beverly Roberts. Sweetheart of a lady. Sweetheart of a lady. You have to go through that to defend something to help kids. Okay. This was, what date was this on the letter? Let me backtrack. That was September 23rd. Okay. And she sent me a cover letter. Dear Dorothy, received your letter this morning. In the company clipping attached, you will find my response, which has just been mailed to Mr. Young. I hope he will indeed do something to rectify this error. Please let me know. Thank you for your nice letter. You know you always have my earnest and warm good wishes. I just feel so badly that I didn't keep in touch with some of these people. I'm sure if I would have, they could have helped in some way, but again, I had so many requests coming in from local communities, and Fred Vero was right, and I have several other people, Fred Griffith and other people that said I worked too much with the local program instead of doing this, but that was the only way our money was coming in. The little money that was coming in from developing the puzzles and the posters and the t-shirts, and I had to keep it afloat somehow, and that's what I did. I was tired of spending all the time writing proposals, and I was spending $2,000-3,000 going to conventions, setting up booth displays, paying for airfares for our people, and not getting any money from either NHTSA or any grants. So that's what we had to do. Okay, along with this line, September 25th, 1974, one of our attorneys, Herbert J. Hoppy, sent Mr. Young a letter in regard to that response. I am writing you regarding the June-July issue of Safety Journal. First, let me refer to the top paragraph, which starts, "A surprise to veterans." Your wording indicates that Safety Town had a telethon, which is totally incorrect. Safety Town not only never had a telethon, but Safety Town was never part of any telethon. Secondly, Sammy Davis Jr. was not the national chairman of Safety Town. He was national chairman of the Highway Safety Foundation. Thirdly, the National Organization of Safety Town was never listed as being in New York, nor was that designation ever used. Inasmuch as the national, so see how many things go wrong in an article? Unbelievable. Inasmuch as the National Safety Town Center is a nonprofit organization relying on private and public sector for financing, we are sure that you will realize that the implication of financial responsibilities that are manifested by the article that is written and the ramifications in your article can directly affect their ability to operate and secure funding. There is no question in the mind of our client that there has been substantial pecuniary damage done both to National Safety Town Center and individually to Mrs. Dorothy Schlatt. Incidentally, we are arranging for you to receive some direct information from Beverly Roberts, who is Executive Director of the Theater Authorities in New York, which is the governing body of all telethon. What seems to us and to Mrs. Schlatt to be completely incongruent is the fact that back on April 17th, 1974, you apparently had a discussion with her, at which time she brought you up to date on much of the information that is contained in this letter. How this information accurately conveyed to you could have gotten so confused in the preparation of an article by whoever wrote it is beyond our comprehension and obviously very damaging to both the National Safety Town Center and the emotional and physical health of Mrs. Schlatt. Believing that there should be a communication in regard to any problem that is raised, we would appreciate hearing from you immediately in regard to this matter. Certified mail. I think he was thinking of a possible lawsuit there, which we should have had, but they didn't have any money. Okay. This is just a copy of that letter, which we're going to use for later. Okay, now that was again while I was doing the telethon. You have to remember I was working for the Highway Safety Foundation, working with this Veterans of Safety to clear up this mess of the copyright. I was still going out, and I was not working for the state anymore, but I was going out and still working for to promote safety towns. This is a letter from Dr. William Warner of Niles Township in Skokie, Illinois. Dear Mrs. Schlatt, thank you so much for the volumes of material received this date. I am responding immediately before reading it all, but I'm sure when I finish I will share your philosophy regarding the necessary community involvement. I am enclosing a rough draft of a proposal to be submitted by mid-June. paged. I will be most happy to meet you on United Flight 736 from Minneapolis. I will have you paged, but in any event, be on the lookout for 40 gentlemen wire glasses. Thank you for all your help. See you next month. I was going out there in June to make a presentation for the Safety Town. Okay, Han did a lot of these. Written information. Now, let me see. I think I discussed somewhere, I should have my calendar for the year here for 1974. Right after the Highway Safety Foundation folded, I was told that April 1st, 1974, I think it was, maybe mid-year that year, that I contacted the Solon High School and talked to Mrs. Priotel, who was a guidance counselor, and told her I needed a young lady secretary to type for me. I'm not a secretary, just someone who I guess a secretary, take dictation. I didn't have a typewriter. She'd have to have her own typewriter. And I paid this girl, this was Jacqueline Kribleck at that time. I think she was a junior at Solon High School. She came to the house on Solon Road maybe once or twice a week. I would dictate 8-10 letters. She would bring them back, and I think she got something like $2 a week, if that. It was unbelievable, using her own. I gave her the stationery, but she used everything else. What a sweetheart of a gal. And she worked for me for 12.5 years until she got married and had her family. And Jackie, I have missed you every day since you've been gone. You were a delight, simply a delight. I don't know how you even put up with me sometime when I look back at some of the things that I made you do, because I was such a fuss button. I was so concerned. I was told by so many people in business that our letters had to be accurate and proper and no erasures, and because we were a new organization, we were going to be scrutinized more than anything else. And I just made Jackie, I would take a letter in and say, look at this smudge. Do you want me to send this? How can I send this out to her? And I really didn't talk in that tone, I don't think. Sometimes I probably did, and I was upset, but she just retyped it and did it. And again, there were 4 of her, because it would take 4 people to do the work that she did. She was just a delight. Jackie, I love you. I missed you. I will always miss you, and I'm sorry that because of our families and our lifestyle, we haven't been able to see each other as often as possible, but you are a big, big factor in the success of our organization, because you kept things, the files going, you kept so many things going for me, and you made it fun for me. Thank you. This is to Marv Wagner. Marv Wagner was the man who was one of the men instrumental in starting Nassau County Safety Town in New York, and he's the one I met in Chicago, getting into the cab, and he happened to have an article about me, about our safety town, and I happened to have an article about his Nassau County Safety Town, and we shared this within a 5-minute ride in a cab. It was unbelievable. Okay, just a note, sorry for the delay in getting this letter to you. It was great to see and talk with you. I enjoyed talking our safety education, about our safety education plans. Okay, I'm going to put this one up here for right now. This was Kirksville Daily Express, June 1974. Pat, remember, this is, I'm not going into the individual safety towns. I'll do that one hopefully next year. This is the videotape that just is going to touch on the first safety town in basically every state, or some key factor. The first safety town in the state of Missouri was started by Pat Edwards in Kirksville, Missouri after a little child was killed in Kirksville, and she read about Safety Town, I think in the Women's Day, one of the publications that we met with in New York. And so she was instrumental, and this is an article that appeared in their local paper. Okay. Now, this was the Ohio Department of Highway Safety, one of their publications. Ohio Department of Highway Safety staff members speak at American AAMVA, American Association of Motor Vehicles Administration, okay? And Pete O'Grady was the president at this time. And there we are, Karen Schumer was in public relations, and there I am talking about Safety Town. And made the publication, made a lot of publications, okay? June 10th, 1974, this was our instructions from Fred Bureau as to what we should talk about. The Safety Town presentation captured the interests of several local law enforcement personnel. Dorothy Schlatt described the program, which is designed to introduce all safety conditions to 4- and 5-year-olds. She included the mechanics of setting up a Safety Town at very low cost. So we did that. July 8th, 1974, dear concerned safety friend, our faces are red. We are embarrassed. Several weeks ago, you received a letter informing you that our first printing of the Safety Town books you requested was depleted. This was due to enormous response to our national articles. The letter further stated that you would receive the materials in approximately 6 weeks, as soon as our second printing was complete. We deeply regret this delay. This is where we had to, the Highway Safety Foundation, the printer would not release any books to us because the Highway Safety Foundation owed so much money, so we had to wait till another loan was approved so we could get the books out. As you probably noticed from our stationery, we have formed a nonprofit organization to promote the importance of early childhood safety education. Because of the many details that were involved in relocating the center and due to change of address and other changes, our books had to be reprinted. In enclosure you'll find our organizational curriculum guide, which are the two most important to the initial stages. Our remaining 4 books are being printed and will be sent to you shortly, we promise. We appreciate your understanding and patience with us in our formative stage. Now that our groundwork has been laid, you can be assured that our prompt attention to your needs in the future. Sincerely, Dorothy Schlatt. Okay. I tried to be honest with people, told them our faces were red, and I was embarrassed. These are the same copies, just additional copies I'm putting up here. Okay. This is again just notes that I made. I never talked from a long outline, just a few notes. And this is to discuss with Dr. Seymour Charles, who is president of Physicians for Automotive Safety, on the operations and the functions of Safety Town. And this was going to be regarding the telethon. I should probably put that with the right telethon material, because that relates to that. Okay. This is a copy that should go with the bicycle survey, because that's it. Remember, you're going through this with me now in this, because all these papers were thrown together, you know. There's the bicycle questionnaire form. This is just a cover letter. Because of the tremendous increase in bicycle usage, especially among our young people, we would greatly appreciate your cooperation in helping us conduct a bicycle survey of our Safety Town children. And that's explained on video number 1 of how many we sent and that kind of thing. Okay. This is Gail Oshler, O-L-S-H-E-R, of West Valley Section, National Council of Jewish Women. And July 12, 1974. Dear Dorothy, I'm writing at this time just to be sure that you are intending to send us the complete set of 6 guidebooks on the Safety Town program. Our organization is holding off on other projects because we are so very anxious to take on this project. According to your letter of May 10th, the books should not be available, and so we hope to receive them in the near future. So you can see how much time when people yelled at me for zeroing in and concentrating on working on local communities. This is why. These are the people who are going to do the program. Okay, here is one of the, I hope I have the whole paper here. Yep. Okay, it should be together. We'll do it this way. Hold on here. A special, can you read this? A special school to keep our kids safe. Is that right? This was in July 17th, 1974. And it doesn't say what community. Let me see if I can very quickly find out what community. Okay. A replica of small town is being constructed at the Mark Twain School for safety's sake. This is Safety Town, where classes will be held. And the Rotary Club is sponsoring it in the city of Miamisburg. Okay. July 17th, 1974. That was one we set up in Miamisburg. Okay. Now I'm going to put that one over there because that's publicity. Okay. This is another copy of the letter to, well, this is easy. This is a copy of the letter that I sent to Vince Quincy Tuma. I'll find that one and put that one in there. Okay. Now, here, I don't think you're going to be able to see this real well, but we'll zoom on this when we do the final video. When we had all these problems with these 3,000 requests coming in from the Wayne Corporation, and all these requests, I think we had about 2,000 from the Wayne Corporation and about 1,000 from the newspaper articles that appeared in during the 74 period. And we didn't have the books. We couldn't get the books. When we did get the books, here's what we had to do. First of all, they didn't put the copyright in it, so we had to take, and here's Frank, nicely, we had a stamp made at the printer, and he's stamping copyright in the front of each book. There were 500 sets, 6 books, 3,000 times he had to do this. Okay. And here they are on the floor, the different colors of the books. I still hope I have some. I think I have these somewhere back in the office, one of the offices. That's what our living room looked like for many weeks while we were doing that. So first he had to copyright them, and there's our daughter Lynn. She was addressing the labels to put on the envelopes. And then here he is collating the manuals, putting them in an envelope. Lynn is putting her label on them, and Frank is putting them in zip code order for the mailing. And here Lynn and one of her friends is helping packing them. So a major thing in this was, I should put a date on here, 1974. Unbelievable. Fun. Some of that was fun. I used to buy pizza for anybody who helped, and we often said it a lot of times that we licked the letters. We used to lick the letters. I didn't, but I don't like to do that, but some of the people did. I said, I'm sure people got them and smelled them and said, this must be pepperoni. This smells like cheese or pizza, because we had so many cheese pizza parties, and I would get things for the people who volunteered. Okay, and this is another one that I think I will go with that. Okay. Here are some ideas when we had to find new offices, and we moved to the 30th floor of the terminal tower. We were coming up with new ideas for stationery, and that was one of them, which was rejected, and we went to a different one, but it gave us some idea to work with. And then, of course, well, Frank helped a great deal too. I have to give him credit for that, but you have to remember he was very involved with the community. He was on the school board, very involved with, of course, chemistry, his full-time job. But he did give me quite a bit of help in this organizational stages because I was not too familiar with this. And he was a much better drawer and did things. We had to make an organizational chart. We had to make manuals for the organization. We had to make, here's the National Safety Town Board of Directors, the president, executive vice president, who would report to whom, and National Safety Town service policies to local communities. We would give them one complimentary packet, which was a big mistake in the early years. I was really dumb, not very business oriented. Then our state directors would attend initial community meetings. The center, the state or district director available at any time for assistance by telephone. The state or district director would attend opening days of each safety town, which we did for many years. Also, director would give brief speech commending and recognizing the efforts of the volunteers at that time. Number 5, visitations would be made periodically by our directors to respective safety towns while the program is operation. Pictures would be taken by the directors and sent to the center along with comments for newsletter, and communication to be maintained throughout the year between local communities and state directors via telephone and workshops and so forth. Those were the policies that we wanted to do for our community, and we did. We sometimes we were late in them, but I think we kept all of them. Just this was our stationery from the Tremel Tower. This is what we finally decided upon. So it was somewhat from what the original was. Let me get back here, see what that original. Just took some. We went from that and that to change that a little bit. Okay, change a little bit. Just what is Safety Town? Where is it? Who uses it? How is it used? Does it serve a useful purpose? And we put up our first probably publicity sheet as to what it was. Revised many, many times over it. As you will probably see, there's another one of those. Good, we have lots of copies, so I can put them in different files and cross. Another organizational chart that we started and went along with that. Let me put that with the organizational chart there. Okay. Now, here's the purpose of the center. Here's the objectives of the center. Here's the advisory board of the center. Here were the board of the directors of the center, the state chairman, general information of the center, okay. Explanation of organizational structure. This was our proposed budget. National Safety Town Center proposed budget July 1st, 1974 to December 31st, 1974. For 6 months we were asking for money. Program expenses for printing $6,500, films $5,000, travel $6,200. Operating expense, offer rental was $1,500, utilities $1,500, legal $1,000, office equipment $2,000. Administrative expenses, I needed a director for $10,000. I wanted a development person. R&D for $7,200. Publicity was public relations for $5,000 and secretary for $4,000. Of course, we never got that. And excuse me, I'll have to answer the telephone. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about the confusion. I somehow disconnected the telephone call anyway. Okay, so that was the proposed budget for July 1st, 74 through December 31st, 1974. However, I had to submit this for a 3-year proposal, so I also had to do from January 1st through December 31st of 75, January 1st through December 31st of 1976. Basically the same categories, but had to do a slight increase in some of the salaries, which we never got anyway. Then I had to explain the budget in explanation. What I was going to do with the printing, the films, the travel, the legal fees, office equipment. So we had to explain all of this. Then we had, this was all one packet that went out to various foundations and government agencies trying to get financial support. National Safe Town Center, what would you like the center to accomplish for you? And this was the response that we got from these people, and we included this. We had to list the price list and the information sheet of what was in our organizational, our Safety Town packet at that time, the curriculum and what was in each manual so people would know. And the service policy we explained here. So this was all very important packet of material. And on the back of our stationery, anyone who wrote to us asking for information, we had to put our copyright regulations. This is very important. We had to protect it so people would know it was a copyrighted program, to eliminate anyone else from picking it up and doing it like they did in Wayne, New Jersey, when those 3 men were selling the program for, I think it was $12,000. Okay, after we got the program, after we finally got all those packets out to the people, which took a matter of several months and several thousands of dollars, we then obtained the office at the Terminal Tower, 30th floor, and that was nice for a while, but our people didn't like traveling downtown on a volunteer basis. They had to pay for parking, and or else take the train down, and it took a while. And then unfortunately we had one girl who did some secretarial work for me, Carolyn, and I can't remember her last name. She was downstairs in the terminal, and her purse was taken under her arm at lunchtime, and that frightened a lot of our volunteers, so we decided to, I think we were down there for maybe a year and a half, something like that. And then we decided to move to the suburbs, and based on where we were living in Solon at the time, and most of my people were from the Bedford Heights, Solon area, so we got some office space on, I'm trying to think, I think it was Bainbridge Road, where the St. Luke's Hospital is now. The building had to be torn down. But we had some space there, as well as still using it. We had to sell our house on Cannon Road, and we lived in an apartment in Solon Park Apartments for about 2 years, while Lynn finished her last 2 years of high school. And that's where we did most of the office space, but then we also had, for a storage facility, because we couldn't store it in the apartment, we had this office space on Bainbridge Road, which was not very large. We have pictures of that. Okay, but then our concern was, how are we going to get money coming in to the center? Marv Wagner said to me one time, and I should have listened, that we should have charged every child that when they register in their local community and pay a registration fee, a flat percentage of the fee, a flat sum, whether it was 25 cents or 50 cents, should have just automatically came to the center, just for an organization. I did not want to do that. I wanted to set up materials that children going from one community, attending a Safety Town in one community in California or in New York, would receive the same type of material. So we set up a Safety Town starter set of what they would have to obtain. Once the program was in operation, each child would get a certificate, a coloring book. Each teenager would get a T-shirt. Then when Bill Cosby became our honorary chairman, he would get an instructor, instructor certificate, an appreciation certificate. Now, we didn't start putting together what we call the first year operational packet. I can't think of the year, but it was when Grants Pass Safety Town started in Oregon. And I'm trying to think of the man's name. And he was a very, very nice man. But he called several times and he said, he kept ordering materials, and he said, if you people are in this business and you're doing this, why don't you put together what we need the first year to start a program? I'm calling to order coloring books, I'm calling to order puzzles. Put together what you think is a starter set for us to start the program. And we thought that's a great idea. So that's how we came about with the first year operational packet. And people buy certain materials, the puzzles and the posters and so forth, to get themselves started. And then after that, they can continue to use them. Some do, some design their own, that's fine. But at least they have something to work with, and that was my main concern. So here, like for the first one, they needed some community involvement, they needed instructor shirts, graduation certificates, and so forth. And this is what we would send to them. Okay, now we had to write up more things as to the National Safety Town Center's purpose and objectives and all that. And again, there it is. Okay, we sent out various types of these. Dear concerned safety friend, we were delighted to receive your inquiry regarding Safety Town, and we thank you for your request. We must apologize for the delay. We constantly had those, unfortunately, because we either were moving too fast. We always had that cart before the horse, and it was difficult. Okay, this is same as this. We've had this before. Another change of letter. We would get tired, somebody else would write a new letter, and we were delighted to receive your request. We are very optimistic that you will be just as enthusiastic and interested in the program as we are. With very little money, you and your organization can work with the entire community in establishing the most important safety education program for your preschool children in your town. Okay, please read attached copyright regulations very carefully. Okay. July 6, 1975, 1974, I'm sorry. This is to Molly Dolan. Remember I told you her husband Larry Dolan was part owner of the Cleveland Indians at one time and lived in Brattonall Place, and very nice lady. I said, dear Molly, enclosed are 3 tickets that your ticket people informed me to return to you when I received them. I really felt very badly about the mix-up. Normally we could have waited a week and see this show a week late. However, I will be out of town next Friday. Here are the tickets, and thanks for your help. We really did enjoy the show. Everyone was great, but Sammy was outstanding. The theater is just beautiful. You can be sure my husband and I will certainly promote the Front Row Theater. Molly and Nate Dolan opened the Front Row Theater. Sammy Davis Jr. was the first entertainer to appear there. Unfortunately now it was torn down a few years ago. And believe it or not, I was there. I didn't get to see Sammy or meet Sammy that time. In fact, I never got to meet Sammy, unfortunately. But they interviewed me on local television and asked how I felt about Sammy Davis being there on opening day. And of course, I wish I would have had a copy of the video of that. I don't. But I was just so delighted that he was such a top entertainer coming to Cleveland, and I commended the Dolans for opening a theater. This was on the southeast side of Cleveland in the eastern suburbs, which we needed, so we didn't have to go downtown all the time to the Palace Theater and other places. And I say to something that has been definitely needed in this area, and I wish both of you, I wish you and Nate, everyone at Philwood Front Row, much success. This was a follow-up to, I wrote to her on January 19th when I met and talked with her in her apartment. Your philosophy about life and people is so warm, sincere, friendly, and refreshing. You have many excellent ideas about the telethon. That's when she was working with the telethon. You will indeed be a tremendous asset to the organization. Okay. And she helped with, as I said, the Home and Flower Show, and was just going to be a very big factor in helping us with this. I'm going to make a carbon copy on this. Make copy here. I need a copy. Make Okay. I'm glad this is a working video. This one we've seen before. Okay. A lot of changes about the organization. Attached, you will find a letter directed to Safety Town mothers. We would appreciate your help in drawing this letter to your attention, distributing copies of the letters, posting it, or drawing attention to the information. This was Carolyn Wilson. That was the lady who worked downtown Cleveland for us. She was our publicity director. And we were, for some reason, this is August 1974. She wrote out, Safety Town Mothers Unite, tired of household drudgery, feeling like it's time for that meaningful contribution to society? Well, maybe Safety Town has an answer. The National Safety Town Center needs your discarded nylon pantyhose to get one of our projects underway. Right now we are calling it a secret project. Rest assured, though, that the end product will be beneficial and fun to your Safety Town youngsters. Please contact the Safety Town teacher, police officer, and find out what arrangements have been made for this pantyhose parade at your Safety Town. It may not be the cause of the century, but the results will be very worthwhile. Thank you for your help and cooperation. Do you know, I have no idea of what we're going to do with those pantyhose. We obviously going to make some toys. Somebody from some volunteer, or maybe Carolyn came up with an idea to make some type of a toy for children. I don't know, but I just read that now, and I'm very surprised. Okay. We are providing a box to make it easier for moms to just toss their nylon pantyhose. I will pick up these boxes on August 24th. Maybe somewhere I'll find out what we were going to do with them. That's interesting. August 8th, 1974, Beverly Newman, American Red Cross. Dear Dorothy, enclosed, please find my reviewed script you will be using for the Safety Town tape on the Vivian Statler show on August 15, 1974. So we did some promotional work there. Okay, enclosure will find a complete set of guidebooks. Again, this was August 9th. I don't know why we constantly, we had to constantly change them because, see, this one says, see, we're good to our word. Here are your remaining 4 guidebooks, just like we promised. Remember the one letter I said we promised? Well, came back and we promised them. We promised it and we send them the books. Okay, Phil Deemer was coordinator of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. This is still being directed to the National, this is to the Terminal Tower, National Safety Town Center. I have enjoyed reviewing the set of guidebooks and other information which you kindly sent me earlier this month. I sent a lot of them out complimentary. In fact, almost all of them out complimentary at this time. On behalf of the members of the Youth Traffic Safety, I cordially invite you or another representative of the Center to participate in our convention program. Again, I went out to there and talked out in Pennsylvania. Dear concerned safety friend. Okay, August 23rd, 1974. Dear Safety Town friend, it was indeed a pleasure to have the opportunity to speak to you at the VFW convention in Chicago. I hope your stay at the convention was both productive and enjoyable. I spoke to the veterans of foreign wars. Lou Roush was a wonderful man. He was safety director. I drove out to Chicago with him, and he was able to get me on the program at the very last minute. And the VFW is why they didn't sponsor a program directly. They assisted in many local communities by doing some of the volunteer work, and many of the VFW auxiliary women made a lot of the pastries and did a lot of nice things for the local communities, and that's all due to Lou Roush from the Veterans of Foreign Wars. And I have a picture somewhere with him in there. That's another copy of that. and that. Okay. This is from Mrs. Elizabeth McKelvey, MC, capital K-E-L-V-E-Y, from Augsburg, Germany. And it says, I was reading about your safety program for young children in the latest Women's Day. Remember Gay Pauley, I believe it was, from Women's Day? I teach nursery school in Augsburg, Germany to military children. Our supplies are very limited, so I would appreciate any information you could send me. Thank you for your help. Okay, that was fun. This is Mrs. Long. This is Mrs. Bowles, the second name when she remarried in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I try to keep her, this is September 5th, 1974. I try to keep her up to date and close the books that took me 6 years to write. It had her husband's picture in them. Like I said, I spent many, many hours doing various types of research to every aspect of the program so people would understand how to establish a program. As I find more pictures and more information about your husband, I will include them in the books. I would greatly appreciate you sending me the letter that we discussed during the telephone conversation regarding your husband having the original copyright and why he had it copyrighted. We never got to that, and I don't know about that. But that was interesting because the Veterans of Safety said they copyrighted it, which they did in 1970 or 68 or 71, but yet it had been copyrighted earlier. So there's a lot of confusion. I should go back to Mansfield one of these days and get that all cleared, but just run out of energy, I guess, and time. Okay, November 6th, 1974. Dear concerned safety friend, you no doubt have often heard me say it is my intention to always keep each Safety Town community and its personnel as informed and up-to-date as possible on information and material pertaining to the center, to the Safety Town program. Much has transpired during the past several months. In my letter of September 27th, I informed the Veterans Safety we're requiring licensing and registering of all safety towns, that the standards had to be met according to the copyright, periodic checkups. Well, needless to say, this ruffled a few of my feathers. Who established these standards? Why should people not directly involved with Safety Town be in a position to set standards? How can the Veterans of Safety claim that Safety Town is their program when so many other organizations have helped and have really been involved through the years? A few of those Kiwanis and JCs and so forth. So again, a very, very long letter, complicated letter. I don't know how I ever kept my thoughts straight on these, I'll tell you. Again, I explained what I did about the 3 magazines and what happened to the Highway Safety Foundation. And this is when we're saying that we're going to have a 25-cent per child, and they're going to get a coloring book. I think a coloring book and a balloon is what they were going to get. Okay. And everything, personal note, true, I've been discouraged at times by the needless blocks that have been thrown in my path, some intentionally, some unintentionally, but the center must and will continue. We are much too close to our objective, and I have too much time and money invested in the center to be deterred. My husband, daughters, relatives, friends, and many of you have voluntarily helped through the years, but now the program has blossomed in its national scope, and it needs a structure and efficient organization in order for it to operate effectively. The National Safety Town is that instrument. Okay. Okay, and then I sent a copy of that letter from the Veterans of Safety again. And it kept cropping up all the time. We'll put this one here. Okay, here is September 12, 1974, a letter from me to Mrs. Yokes of the American Nurses Association. Dear Jean, I would like to inform you that National Safety Town Center is no longer affiliated with the Highway Safety Foundation. I had to send these letters out because of unexpected developments. The foundation, it was necessary to form an independent nonprofit organization in April. I'm sorry you were not informed of this change earlier, but things have been hectic during our reorganization and relocation period. I'm sure you can understand this. I hope to continue working with you and will be in touch via telephone in the near future to arrange a personal meeting. But, of course, we didn't have all the biggies from New York to work with us, and that hurt tremendously. And I didn't have the time to follow up on it. I think had I done both, followed up in New York, I would have gotten those people. No doubt about it. This is a letter September 13th, 1974. I sent to Mr. John M. Taco, President of the Greater Mansfield Area Safety Council, sent at my request to Mr. Vincent Toffney, President of the National Safety Council. Dear Mr. Toffney, this morning at our Board of Directors meeting, one of our speakers, Dorothy Schlatt, explained the National Safety Town Center. We certainly have been knowledgeable about the center's existence for quite a while, since it's been located in Mansfield for several months, when supported by the Highway Safety Foundation. In fact, the original concept of Safety Town was founded in Mansfield in 1936 by Fred Bowles. Dorothy briefly explained her present situation in obtaining financial support on a national level. She also stated the National Safety Council is currently investigating the possibility of supporting the center. As President of the Greater Mansfield Area Safety Council, having known Dorothy and her interest in dedicated volunteer work with Safety Town, I would urge the National Safety Council seriously consider supporting her. The new concept of Safety Town, as Dorothy has outlined in her books, is indeed extremely important and necessary. Judging from the national and international interest she has created and the publicity that she and the center have received, it is certainly a positive indication of the public concern and interest. I am sure the National Safety Council is always interested in new programs and ideas, especially in prevention of accidents, and this seems like a must, especially in lieu of the fact that Dorothy has laid much of the groundwork as far as providing its interest and success at her own expense. I am sure I speak on behalf of many safety councils, not only in Ohio but in the United States, when I say this would be an excellent program for all safety councils to become involved in, from the safety aspect as well as excellent public relations publicity possibilities. You'd think that would be obvious to so many people, huh? I hope you will give very serious consideration to supporting Dorothy Schlatt in the Safety Town total concept of safety as a national safety program. Should you need any information, please do not hesitate to contact me. And we met with the National Safety Council on several occasions. We met with them, I don't think I mentioned when we were going to do the telethon in 1974. John Butler and myself went up to the National Safety Council, meet with them, and asked them to participate in it. Again, now that I think about it, I think this is on a videotape number one of how we try to get them involved with us. But it was, here we go, sorry. Okay, I'm back, sorry. Wrong number, or they hung up, whatever it was. Okay. That one goes with that one there. Okay. Here's a response from Vince Toffney to Mr. Tutko of the Mansfield Safety Council, September 26th. I appreciate your letter of September 13th regarding Safety Town. We have examined the program at great length and in great detail, and we generally share the opinions that you have regarding it. However, for a variety of reasons, which we have already passed along to Dorothy Schlatt, we feel that the program must be modified to provide for self-funding if it is to survive and grow. The indefinite nature of contributing support does not provide a very firm foundation for any program. Thanks again for taking time to write to me about this. Bottom line, from the business standpoint, if we couldn't document how we were having money coming in, remember I was sending all these things out free, and people like Vincent Toffney, who was a lawyer, people with the Safety Council were business people, you had to have some money coming in, and they could not believe that I would go out and spend my own money, set up these programs, and not have people pay for my services and pay for a registration fee, like any other organization, like Girl Scouts, like Kiwanians, like Rotarians who pay a membership fee. So that's why we established the Safety Town Starter Kit, where they had to buy materials for the first year and at least buy materials and mark those items up enough to pay for our secretary, a secretary and some help, and at least pay for an office. I wasn't the smartest businesswoman in the world. I was born an educator, not a business person. Okay. Okay, this is a copy of this for Mr. Tutkow. Okay, this is a letter from Dr. Chandler Monroe. Remember the first safety town we set up in Missouri was North Kirksville. This Dr. Chandler Monroe was from Northeast Missouri State University. Monday, September 16th, 1974. Dear Dorothy, this article doesn't tell even half the story, but is the best publicity that Kirksville has gotten from a major metropolitan newspaper since I've been here for 14 years, except for sports. Everything that you said about people working together, social learning, in addition to safety training, dedicated young helpers, etc., came true. Without a doubt, it has been the greatest example of a cooperative endeavor in this town in years. Civic clubs, auto agencies, insurance companies, restaurants, everybody wanted to get into the act, and the news media were most helpful. We put up hundreds of posters all over town. I'll stick one of them in this letter too. Made many suggestions for additional units, especially on bike safety. We're very glad you came to Kirksville. McDonald's gave the teens helpers a free meal, and the civic pool gave them a free swim. Just unbelievable publicity. September 27, 1974, special meeting. Extremely important. During the past several months, many situations have developed that you must be informed about. Because of the complex details, it is impossible to explain in a letter. Plus, there are many decisions that you will be required to make, including licensing of safety towns and obtaining and receiving permission to obtain the license. The Veterans of Safety are requiring this, however, the legality of this is very questionable. I have arranged to have legal counsel and a member of the Veterans of Safety at this meeting to inform you and answer questions. If I sound serious, believe me, I am. Since April 1st, I have been living a nightmare. Not only is this meeting important to you and your safety town, but it's extremely important to me. It would decide my future involvement in safety town, or if I am forced to pursue another field. I ask you, please, won't you make every attempt possible to attend this meeting for you and for me. I have tried to be of help to you in the past. Now I need some help and advice from you. Won't you please help me? Thursday, October 10th at 7:30 at Heskett Junior High School in Bedford, Ohio. I realize some of you are not presently involved in your Safe Town program. However, you were very instrumental in organizing your program, and your attending this meeting is extremely necessary. Please bring as many people from your community as possible that are involved. At least one person from your sponsoring organization should definitely attend. This was, again, because of all that legal material with the Veterans of Safety. I don't know how I lived through it. And here was a diagram of how to get there. Okay, this one we don't read right now. September 26, 1974. I wrote a letter to Barbara Adams of Carmel, New York. Let me see what this is about. Okay. Okay, first Kathy Adams wrote me a letter. Let's see, this is Kathy Adams. Okay. When I read the article, Safety for Young Pedestrians by Julie Chandler in the September 1974 issue of Women's Day, Julie Chandler wrote the article Women's Day, not Dee Pauley, sorry. It was like a breath of fresh air, a new avenue of inspiration. I have been trying quite unsuccessfully to interest our local school board in upgrading the qualifications for our bus drivers. These people who drive the average school child more miles than they ride in the family car should be experts in their field. However, due to low pay, which causes shortage in any positions, our local schools are desperate for bus drivers and have been hiring practically anyone with a driver's license who applied. Some of the advertisements in the help wanted ads went like this: housewives, earn extra money in your spare time. I was appalled when I read these cries for school bus drivers. Drivers who would be carrying up to 72 children in one vehicle to and from school under all kinds of road conditions and weather conditions such as ice, fog, snow, mud, or any combination thereof. And this person has to be a disciplinarian to some extent as children are in constant motion, running to and from the bus. I spent many hours trying to find out interested organizations, including our PT, to become involved in helping to change the situation. The whole school bus transportation department needed a good looking into. And this is the last place to try and cut corners to save money, but yet is the first place our local school system starts shaving the budget. Practically all over the country, school bus transportation departments are outmoded for our rapidly growing school system. The legislative hearings that I attended were at least beginning to listen to what we are saying, and some legislation in New York State, I'm happy to say, was passed requiring 28-inch high-back padded seats in our buses and unibody construction, along with some other safety regulations for our buses that our children ride almost daily. But most of our safety organizations that could help me were in favor of showing some horrendous films of bus accidents to our children. This cooled my enthusiasm in seeking their support for our local schools. I know teaching children K through 3 safety habits going to and from school is important, but the price seemed too high. I am not in favor of teaching children through fear. They are so impressionable at this age, at this early stage in life, that frightening them to me seems cruel. After all, leaving their home and boarding that huge yellow bus full of strangers is enough for them to cope with without adding the burden of a mental picture from a film showing screaming, bleeding children flying through the air in a bus that has just had an accident. We as parents and mature adults can do the work necessary to help prevent carelessness in the transportation of our children to school without exposing them to the workings of this. After all, we don't explain our whole financial situation to a kindergartner when we give him his snack money. Protecting and guiding him is what we parents are here for, and gradually these little ones also will appreciate what went into this guidance as they grow up helping younger ones themselves. Love, understanding, and guidance teaches more than fear ever will. Fear tends to stop the flow of thought, whereas a child who understands the situation without fear is free to act. And this action, perhaps opening an emergency door or window, could save lives. This is why the article by Julie Candler explaining your National Safety Town Center inspired me to call for information. Your organization sounds interested in teaching these children safety habits. Your goal is clear, and I quote the article, to encourage attitudes that must form early in a child is to obey rules that can save his life. Dorothy Schlad, your organization sounds like an answer to a prayer, and I'm looking forward to our meeting. If you would also send me the places, times, and dates of any meetings that you have in the Trenton, New Jersey area. Excuse me. I haven't read that. I remember that letter, and I haven't read that for quite some time. Yeah, it was September 20th, 1974, and I responded to her. Dear Kathy, thank you so much for your letter. You mentioned your letter after reading the article and so forth. Well, after I read your letter, I had identical reaction. It indeed restored my faith in humanity that there are still people like you, people who care and are determined to find some avenue to accomplish their task rather than just giving up. I would like to commend you for your interest, concern, and determination. Once I fulfill my obligation with Safety Town, I think the next challenge I'll undertake is school busing, covering many aspects, not just the driver. Maybe you and I can form our own organization. There is an organization now, by the way, on that. In fact, I was so concerned about school bus safety when my girls were in school, and I was just starting Safety Town, that I had asked if we could, a group of PTA mothers could go to the bus garage, get on the bus with the driver, and ride on the bus with the children. Because there were so many accidents on the bus. Children getting hit over the head with lunch boxes, glasses being taken off and thrown out the window and broken, and bumps and bruises, and bad punches. My husband was on the school board. We've had lots of these telephone calls and complaints from parents. Because I kept saying, how can we expect a driver handling 60 kids on the bus that were not buckled in safety belts, that were making a lot of noise? He can't watch the road and watch the children. There should be a monitor on the bus to control the children. Well, that never went over, and I still believe that should happen, but that never went over. Because there are just too many accidents, I think, and too many ways that children get hurt verbally and physically. Children are not nice, unfortunately, all the time, not to each other. I agree with you 100% about teaching your children through fear. Totally unnecessary. Positive reinforcement is much more effective. Not only does the child learn, but builds all important ingredient of self-worth within himself. I always use the word respect instead of fear. I want the children to respect the car because it goes fast. You sure did hit the nail on the head when you said parents and mature adults can do work necessary to help prevent needless accidents. Okay, and then this was also from Carmel, from Barbara Adams. I guess it was what a delightful pleasure it was to talk with you this morning. Oh, I thought her name was Kathy Adams. Okay. Maybe we should change her name. Okay, but I did talk to Barbara Adams. That's an interesting article. I like that one. Okay. As I said, this was going to be a lot of my own personal things, as well as when I read something, it was going to trigger something in my mind. I hope it continues to do that. October 2nd, 1974. This letter is from Howard M. Hungefeld, Honigfeld. I remember him very well. Dear Mrs. Schlatt, some time ago I corresponded with your organization, indicated that I was interested in learning more about Safety Town concept. During the last summer, I received a set of guidebooks which I've read with interest. In the last 2 weeks, I have occasion to meet with the Assistant Superintendent of Schools of Wayne, New Jersey, Mr. Robert Boyle, to review your program. Both Mr. Boyle and I are in agreement that this program has a considerable amount of merit, and there's a likelihood that we in Wayne, New Jersey will be instituting the Safety Town program. I believe that the guidebooks make reference to the fact that you have prepared films. In addition, will provide speakers for the initial meeting or meetings to help us get the program off the ground. I hope this offer still is available, and we would like to set up an initial meeting within the next 4 weeks, if at all possible. Okay, on October 30th, 1974. This is from Tom Kozlowski. Dear Dorothy, I want to thank you for coming to Lawrence Township. You were just super. Enthusiasm is snow falling, and I am looking. Enthusiasm is snow falling. I wonder if it should be snowballing. Okay, that's his typo, not mine. Enthusiasm is snow falling, and I am looking forward to meeting the other state chairmen. May I have their mailing address? I recently visited Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and came across some ideas for corporate funding. Phillips 66 Oil Company had a commercial where they stated they were a company who helped find oil, help amateur athletes. That theme could be expanded to their company helping people, even people who do not use gasoline, 4- and 5-year-olds. So people were very creative in helping me and give ideas. They were just great. Now, this is interesting with Lawrence and Wayne, New Jersey. I went into Wayne, New Jersey, I think it was in September. No, I'm trying to think when this was. I went into Wayne, New Jersey before I went into Lawrence, New Jersey before I went into Wayne, New Jersey to make the presentation, a matter of a few months, I guess. But, so technically, Lawrence, New Jersey was the first safety town organizational meeting in the state of New Jersey. But Wayne, New Jersey opened their program, I think, a week before Lawrence did. I don't know if it was just in the planning or if they were trying to beat them or what. I know there was one in Missouri that way. But I spoke in Lawrence first and then went up to Wayne, I think, a few weeks later. I mentioned the one in Missouri. I was working with Lee Summit, Missouri, who was going to be the first safety town in the state of Missouri. No, I'm sorry, Kirksville was the first one. Lee Summit was going to be the first one on the Kansas City, on the Kansas borderline. Kirksville was closer to the Indiana line, I guess, or Illinois line. And I'd been working with Lee Summit for quite some time. St. Joseph, Missouri, which is up in the upper part, still on the other coast, on the west side, heard about the safety town and wanted me to come up and help them set up, which I did. They opened, when they found out, I told them the date Lee Summit was going to open, they opened, I think it was 2 hours earlier, and I have this in file. And I went to St. Joseph, Missouri to help them cut the ribbon. They had a very, very nice event. A lady made a huge safety town cake with traffic lights and all kinds of things. It was unbelievable. I have it in one of our books, in our organizational manual. And they actually had an airplane waiting for me at the airport and flew me from St. Joseph's, Missouri to Lee Summit so I could be there in time to open the Lee Summit program. But St. Joseph's wanted to be the first one on that part of the state to have a safety town program. And I had a police escort from the school where we had the opening of the safety town to the airplane. I mean, right through the gate, right to the airplane. It was a small private plane, and then flown there. I felt like the First Lady of the United States. And then arrived in Lee Summit, Missouri, and had police escort to get to the opening on time. It was unbelievable. I only wish, oh, you have no idea how I regret not having taken time to take a video, take a movie or something with me to do this, because, and I couldn't afford to take anybody else with me. So it's just my recollection of these things, and all I have are the written letters and my thoughts and my memories, and thank heavens I'm still blessed with very detailed memory. I with Safety Town, I think I remember about 99% of things that I've done. I can't remember too much of my English class and some of my history classes, but for some reason everything I have done with Safety Town just seems to be embedded in rock and in hammer and chisel, I get in cement and concrete or whatever, but it's just there, and I'm happy for that. So that's why I want to make these videos, to share some of these things with you. Okay, October 16th, 1974, another Department of the Treasurer, Internal Revenue. This is to inform us, based on the information you supplied, you will be a 503C status, which was really exciting for us. And there it is, documentation. Documentation. I'm going to put these this way. Okay, this was, I just read this one from the JC. See, I'm getting all these nice duplication letters. Now, this is the fun thing. We had lots of fun. Had tears. Who is it? No one said life is ever easy, right? Anytime I'd go out of town, my husband, almost all the time, would write me some little notes, and I would do likewise. Of course, I would call him and talk to him daily, but if I would get home maybe late and he would be asleep, or if he had a meeting and I would come in, he would leave these notes. This is a note I left for him. He must have been at a convention or something, and I put, "Welcome home, dear. I love you. Thank you. It's nice to be home." Okay. And here's a note that he left me. "I missed you. No phone call today. Probably because I was having difficulty on the way getting home. Love me." And then I put, "I missed the phone call too. I did talk to you in the car. You just didn't hear me when I was traveling home." So he would write something on the top, and then I would write something on the bottom if he came. I think this was when I got home. He left me this, and he was at a meeting, and I was tired. I went to bed, and I wrote underneath, "When he came home, then he read it." That's what it was. And then he wrote this, and he would have these maybe on the floor, three different in the living room, three different steps, or one in the living room, and one in the bathroom, and one in the bedroom in different places. "It's me again, love you." And I put me. "I love you again too. See you on your 4.5 feet. He loved his 4.5 feet on the sofa. We still talk about his 4.5 feet. That's a standard joke in our house. He doesn't watch TV like this. He lays down on a sofa 4.5 feet. Okay. This is something he wrote to me. "Dear safety lady." Okay. I have to hold it this way so you can see it. "Thank you so very much for letting me go to the dumb ball game. I will be very careful and will avoid any pain, grief, sorrow, and suffering I have to at my age. I will be home at 7:30, ready to get back to clickety-click, your VIP me." And the clickety-click was he was going to help me do some typing on the typewriter. Okay. No, I'll throw this as no get. You just notice that. And then another note. I have no idea what some of these were. "I love you, safety lady." But he had a great sense of humor. Sometimes I didn't appreciate it because, as I said, I was such a perfectionist, and to the point that everything had to be so exact. When I was writing the manuals, I double-checked and triple-checked the instructor manual to the teaching manual to the training session manual to make sure that everything, was correlated properly and corresponded properly, and every comma proper, and just I wasted a lot of time doing it, I think. But that's the way I was. Okay, this one we don't need right now. This is when I put the seat belts in the cars in Safety Town in Bedford, 1968. I later, on all the questionnaire forms in Bedford Safety Town and other ones, as we set up, had questions for the parents to respond about safety belts. And I put this together, and I submitted this a few years, probably in 74, 75, somewhere around here, probably 74, to the American Seatbelt Council. And that's in the office. I know we have a folder on them, on what were some of the comments from the parents on seat belts. As a result of children putting their seat belts on in the Safety Town cars. Each time we go for a ride, she puts the seat belt on. Fastens seat belts without being told. Seat belts in cars used now. Learn about new type of infant seat for cars. I never paid that much attention before to wearing a seat belt. We wear them faithfully now. Susie will not let anyone start the car without putting on their seat belt first. I appreciate being informed as to what child seats were approved. The child restraint session was very informative. As a teenage instructor, I learned a great deal of the importance of seat belts. When seat belt information is properly explained, it is easy to understand and realize their importance. My husband had to install a seat belt just like the Safety Town car. I was amazed at the impact the safety belt instruction had upon my daughter. Putting on seat belts is a must now. Playing teacher and telling everyone about seat belts and demonstrates how to put them on. I used to struggle with my child to put on the seat belt, but after Safety Town experience, he does it without being told. As a grandmother, I used to let my grandson sit on my lap and help me drive. Now he tells me why he must sit in his seat with his own safety belt. By attending classes, I too learned why putting him on my lap was dangerous. Wish every parent and every child could go to Safety Town for the seatbelt instruction. Forget the expense with, I love this one, forget the expense with extensive research studies. Send Safety Town kids to Washington to talk to the lawmakers. I really should have done that. I was told that many times. In fact, I told Leroy Dunn one time when I was in Washington, because it was right after the farmers were in there with their tractors and they had some type of a strike or problem with the government, and they had lots of tractors tying up the streets. And I said to Leroy Dunn, if you think those tractors are tying up this city, I'm going to have all our Safety Town kids come with their little cars here and tie up this whole town. And he said, looked at me and he said, maybe that's what it takes. And I said, why? I said, why do we have to go through this? Why do my people have to spend their own money and go through this to get a point across? You know, that you people don't understand it's important to teach safety to children at an early age. But it says here, the above comments were taken from National Safety Town questionnaires and sent to American Seatbelt Council and also for the organizational manual. That's a great, great thing. Okay. Okay. This is Dear Miss Walters. It has to be Barbara Walters. November 24th, 1974. A few weeks ago, while viewing the Today program and your Not for Women Only program, I thought of an idea that might be of interest to you. The Today program that I'm referring to was the one in which you interviewed Dr. Salk regarding young parents and the information that these young parents need to properly prepare for parenthood, as well as how to become much more knowledgeable about the very important formative years of their preschoolers. I also have been involved in this field rather extensively since 1963. However, I became involved through a rather unusual and different situation. In 1963, I became involved with a program called Safety Town, which is a program designed to introduce children to safety. During the following 10 years I have taught this program, I could not believe how very little the parents knew about their total development of their children, nor how very little they knew regarding the effects their comments, reaction, and responses had upon their young children, especially during these early years. A negative attitude towards these children at this early age can indeed be very damaging at this age as well as in later life. I would like to explain at this point that I firmly believe, as some of our research will also indicate, parents do not intentionally plan to damage their child. They simply have never been taught and consequently are not knowledgeable about the many aspects related to child-parent development relationships. Young adults usually are told to raise their children as they were raised, and by simple common sense. But what is common sense, and how does one acquire it? In order to have common sense, one must first have the knowledge, information, material, and experience to make proper judgment. And I don't know where the second part of that letter is, but it's an excellent letter, and I want to make a copy of that one. Make copy for scrapbook. Okay. All right. I didn't even know. I forgot all about that. I wrote to Barbara Walters when she was on the Today. Remember when she was on the Today program? That'd be interesting to send that and do a follow-up on that. That's interesting. I'm going to put that on there. See, this is how I always make notes now. Do follow-up. 1974, this would be 14 years later. I'm sorry, how about 24 years later? How about that, 24 years later? Woo! Compare. This is going to be a good article. I like this one. Okay. In fact, 25 years later, and I still don't think we've covered on some of those topics of parents, how to raise their children. I think it's even gotten worse. Okay, this one I don't need. Okay, the fundraising information. Okay, this is something that we put together. When we were determining how to raise money for the organization. They were going to, in fact, it was Wayne, New Jersey, when I spoke there. No, excuse me, I take that back. It was in New York. I'm trying to think it was New Rochelle, New York, when someone stood up and said, "It's great that you came and got us very excited and motivated us. Now who's going to come and help us? Who's going to, where we get the printed material and all this?" And I kept saying, "We're working on it. We're working on it." And at that particular meeting, a man came up to me and gave me a business card. I know I don't think I have it anymore. I hope I could find it somewhere in my files. But after my presentation, he came up to me and he said, "I know you mentioned in your presentation you felt this organization program should be sponsored by education and safety and so forth. But," he said, "if you ever change your mind," he said, "here is my card, contact me." He said, I wrote 3 words on the back of the card, and on the back of the card he wrote, "Excellent marketable product." He was somehow affiliated with the Kennedy administration. That's all I remember about him. And I said to him, I said, "I don't understand what you mean," because I was just starting out in this. This was in the early 70s. And he said, "What we have to do is package this whole program." He said, "Set a fee. You would go out, or you could designate a speaker to go out and do exactly what you did here. We would build the houses. We would give them all the materials, but they would pay a fee for it, which would probably be a couple $1,000s, I guess. But that's the way business people talk." And I said, no, it can't be. That's not the way we're going to do it. Again, had all those opportunities. I'm not saying we could have gone that way, but had I not been so, I want to say, closed-minded, and I guess in some areas I was, because I just wanted this to be a volunteer program for people to get involved with their kids and get involved with their community. And I didn't see that. If people paid money, I didn't see that. So I closed my mind, I guess, to that kind of suggestion, where if I would have sat and talked with these people and kept a little bit more open mind, maybe we could have compromised to something that would have been profitable for the organization, so we wouldn't have had to struggle through all those years. And even now, we could have had a much more larger organization to give a lot of information to our local people. I'm just so delighted that so many of the local people took it on their own and pretty much ran with it, and I'm so delighted and thankful that so many local programs continue to purchase our materials and to be a part of our organization, compared to some people who we spent a lot of time helping to set up and a lot of money, and once we got them set up, didn't purchase anything from us, including my own town of Solon, Ohio, unfortunately. But anyway, this is something that they came up with, a consultant's fee. It would be the guidebooks, and they provide a speaker, and someone would attend the ribbon cutting ceremony and help them with publicity. So that was one way we could have gone. Now, once we appointed a chairperson, and at first we called them people, and then we called them state coordinators and local coordinators, again because of that affiliation. But we made beautiful certificates of acknowledgement, which in a nice heavy cardstock. I firmly believed in always recognizing people. You can't recognize people enough. Well, yes, you can. You can be overdone and it's not sincere, but you can certainly do it appropriately and give them their deserved credit. The Board of Directors of the National Safety Town Center is proud to announce that, and then we print in their name, has been officially appointed Safety Town Chairperson for the state of whatever. In this capacity, we will serve your entire state by promoting our program to the news media, personal speaking engagements, and personally assisting and guiding local communities establishing a safety town. And I have the new concept of Safety Town in parentheses because we had to do that. You will be well rewarded in the personal satisfaction you receive knowing that through your effort and time, you will prevent, in capital letters, needless accidents, thereby saving lives and injuries, especially to our precious young children. And then the date and the president. Myself. Now, we did this before Bill Cosby became our honorary chairman, and after that we adjusted it and put his name on there as well. And you'll see that next year. 1976. We're still in 1974. Okay. Now that we had we formed our organization in April of 1974 is when we officially became a nonprofit organization. And we got our space down in the terminal tower. And we had to send out all these letters, set up policies and procedures and so forth. The next thing we had to do is get together a slide presentation on what the program was. And which we have, and the slide presentation is in the office. And here we went with, it's 103 slides. I'm not going to read this because it's here, but again, my husband was very, very instrumental in helping me type this, and I think the slide selection, I did most of the slide selection, but helping to put it together in some form. He had, in many areas, a better command of the English language than I have, and sometimes would get carried away with the higher education and terminology, but that's where I would draft something, he would read it, and look at it and change some things. And I used to get very upset, and I know he didn't mean to hurt me, but it hurt me deeply for a long, long time. Probably still does when you love someone and someone says something negative to you. You think you've done something nice, and they come back and say something negative. And he said, "Oh, that doesn't make any sense. That's ridiculous." And and I guess there would have been better ways to do it, but it did hurt at times. But I got over it. It started out, children are our greatest, most valuable natural resource, and this was fun. Jacqueline Herdlicka, her sister, her mother, my daughter, the two men at the recording studio, my husband, myself, a police officer, were all different voices for this on the slide presentation, because we had the police officer talking about what it does for the police officer, the school official. We had Jackie's mother talk about what it does for the parents, and business and industry. And slide presentation is still available today. We don't use it very often because it's not outdated in the form of the wording. The wording is excellent, but the slides are outdated. And I don't know, maybe we could update it. Come to think of it, it certainly applies. Your children are our greatest, most valuable natural resource. Maybe we should make this into a nice video. Good idea. Might think about that. Okay. Now this is this belongs with the loans that we took for Tom and Oscar, and okay, we'll have to put that one in the other file. In 1974, it was, I think, 1974, Ohio came out with Ohio Protects Ohio's Younger Children, Safety Town. And I was very, very pleased with this. It gives reference, of course, to the original Safety Town in Mansville. Didn't say anything about the Highway Safety Foundation or any of that. It just I think this was used primarily for the Mansfield Safety Town in the early years, and they just duplicated and brought it up to date in the 70s, or just printed it mainly because it had the governor's name on it. days of governor or something, but it looks like it was something done from the early program in the 30s and 40s. Okay, this doesn't have a date, but it says contact the following Cleveland people for Safety Town information. Hello, we would like to introduce ourselves. Won't you please take a minute to read this letter so we can become acquainted. You see, we know about your organization and your products. We would like you to know about our organization, our products, what we do. We are proud of an organization, excellent product, and we're very proud to be a part of Cleveland. We are young, ambitious, enthusiastic, and our program is just a baby, but growing very rapidly. Because we are growing, we need your help, especially your financial help. Without funds, our baby might never have the chance to grow into a safe, productive adult. Won't you please send us a contribution to ensure our baby's development properly and safely? Our organizational structure is National Safe Town here in Cleveland, 5-member board, advisory committee, 501c3. Thank you for taking time to get to know us a little better now that we know each other. We look forward to working with you and helping to prevent accidents to precious children. We sent out a flyer, and I don't think we might have gotten $10, $15 back, but not very much. Okay, now this is a highlight. Remember we said one of our policies to our coordinators that we would send a newsletter. So in the fall of 1974, very, very exciting, we had our first newsletter. Now, this was quite large. It was for the whole year, and it has 21 pages. Now, what was exciting about this, let me just read the first line or two. Dear Safety Town friend, do we look and sound happy? We sure are. Why? Because we finally now have a National Safety Town Center and Safety Town newsletter. Needless to say, I am extremely happy because two of my long-time dreams have become realities. Since 1968, I've been trying to establish a National Safety Town Center and have our own newsletter. Now we have both, plus much more. Why all this excitement over a newsletter? One word will answer that question: communication. Big letters. That word is extremely important and very often determines the success of any organization. Proper and effective communication eliminates problems, which in turn saves money, time, and effort. There are many forms of communication, and we intend to use every form available, and the newsletter certainly is a great way to communicate. As the center grows, more state chairmen will be added, more local safety towns, and so forth. And then we have first we received excellent publicity in Nation Schools, American School Board, and then Julie Candler and Women's Day. And we go on to list what we've done. And then we go by the states, what we did in each state, I think since the inception. In Arizona, we did the 1973. In California, the 3rd International Automotive Congress. Remember, this is 1974. And District of Columbia, Illinois, New Jersey, Kentucky, Minnesota, Missouri, New Jersey. We went Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Okay. And then we had the purpose and objective of the center here to this point. Now this is what we did we gave a brief description of, like, Pennsylvania. Mike Lynch for the National Safety Town Center has been promoting safety towns to the International Pilots Club of New York and so forth. Okay. Now what we did is we went and took the states, and I had an intern Mike DeFrancisco, and he made a state and put the coordinator's name in each state, and then we wrote about the coordinator in each state that we had. Clever idea? Pat Edwards, we talked about a little bit about how she started, and it was just great. There's Gene Swan, Illinois, Andy Miller in Ohio, Tom Kozlowski, New Jersey, Jan Martinez and Carolyn Jackson in Texas. This is fun. This is fun to look at these again. Opal Abel in Arizona. Donna Treadway in Wisconsin. And then we had pictures of all the people here. Fun, fun, fun. And then we had some articles that appeared in newspapers on that. This was a big newsletter. We worked on it. Jackie really worked on it a long time with me. Thank you, Jackie. And then we have comments from around the country, so they could use this in their information. People, places, and ideas. Safety Town additions. No on fire prevention. And Frank and Jackie made little stick figures and did some drawing. Jackie was pretty good as an artist. Bicycle information and the summary. So that was our very, very big event for 1974. It went out in color. I don't have a colored copy left. Always gave away my last copies on things, I think. Okay, I'm going to stop now momentarily and get a drink of water. Okay, I'm back. Had a little bit of lunch. Dinner. It's about 6:30. Let me rearrange some of this material here. Okay, now next on the agenda here is, I forgot to bring my little coffee mug. Maybe I won't be thirsty for a while. This is my 1974 calendar. I write things, I look back and I don't know how I even understood some of the things I wrote in there because I wrote so small on a matchbook cover. But here's just 2 weeks to give you some idea of my schedule. On Sunday, April 28th, I met with Helene Anger at 9 o'clock. I met with George Taylor in Mansfield at 1:30. At 10:10, WHIZ in Millersburg, down in southern part of Ohio. On Monday, Jack Coughlin from Bosch and Loam. I had to meet with him in Mansfield. Then drove to Cleveland at the terminal. Had a meeting there, and then at the Cleveland Automobile Club. On Tuesday, went to Salt Fort Lake. Governor's Traffic Safety Committee, had to do a presentation there and attend meetings for the entire day. Wednesday, May 1st, went to Mansfield for the printers and see if I could get those books out of their print shop. On Thursday, went to the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee meeting, the Alding event in Bowling Green, gave a presentation there in Safety Town and conducted various meetings and also the seatbelt convincer. Friday, finalized plans for the workshop next week and prepared my weekly report to the Ohio Department of Highway Safety. Noon on the Saturday, BPW in Cleveland. I went to hear Fred Vero speak, and I had 3:45 and 5 o'clock interviews. I left on Sunday morning for Washington, D.C. for National Convention, and attended many, many meetings during the 2-day period there. On Tuesday the 7th, I conducted an 8-hour workshop, which is at least 12 hours of setup and takedown. On Wednesday the 8th, I had a 12 o'clock meeting in Brunswick, Safety Town, Richmond Heights PTA at 8 p.m. in Wilson Road. And Thursday at the 9th in Athens, Ohio, the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee. And at 7 p.m. I had a BPW at the Episcopalian Church on Mayfield. On Friday the 10th at 9:45 a.m., Cleveland, Ohio, I had a broadcasters hospitality meeting for the radio council. So that's just some things of what I did on a daily basis. That's my 1974 catalog. Okay, here we go with another pile of information. This letter I found, this is, I think this was done in the late 74 and staying with the 74 era, somewhere around there, 73, 74. This was Marv Van Sickle, was a driver ed teacher at Iowa State University, and along with Dr. Fred Wagner. And they were two very nice men that I met, both driver ed people, very concerned about safety. I met at the National Safety Congress along with that nice group of Gerald Christensen and Dwight Carlson and all from Iowa. Very, very nice people. Always very supportive. But anyway, I was going through Iowa and doing some seminars, and Marv asked if I would stop in his driver ed class at college and talk to some of the students. And I did, and it was a delightful pleasure. They were just amazed at how child development really affected them as drivers. And I try to talk to them about child lack of concentration and depth perception and so forth, and they were just really in awe with this. There was just a nice exchange of information on both sides. I learned from them, and I'm sure they learned from our child development information. But anyway, I sent Marv a letter. Dear Marv, sorry for delaying getting this letter to you, but my schedule has really been hectic. I spent last week in Connecticut, 2 days in Maryland, 2 days. I'm now attempting to catch up on my mail. I would like to thank you so much for being so gracious to me, as you always are, and affording me so much of your time in picking me up in Clinton, the lunch and the talk session, and handling my overnight accommodations. It was great to see and talk with you, and I thoroughly enjoyed talking to your safety education class. They were very attentive, and it was a pleasure to meet and talk with these young people who will, I'm sure, have a great deal to do with arranging the curriculum when they become adult safety education instructors. Again, my deepest appreciation to you for making my trip to Dubuque, that's where it was, Dubuque, Iowa, so enjoyable. With kindest regards. Okay? Alrighty. This is just a note. At the end of 1974, we took 2 loans out to pay for printing of the books. It may seem like cooperative ventures, but ladies and gentlemen, it was me. This is what I wrote at that time, how I felt. I wrote how I felt at the time. Now, some people have asked, why didn't I tell people this before? And I said, who cared? Your concern in the local community was to organize a program. You had enough problems getting a sponsor, registering, getting the houses built, getting the cars. I don't think you really cared about all this information. Plus, I had a hard time dealing with it myself, to be honest with you. My purpose was to promote the program, not who got the credit. I really didn't care until it started getting to the point where we had to spend so much time defending what we did. Then I really had to start sort of tooting our own horn, so to speak. But as Dr. Paul Bladsdale said, if you can back up what you have done with facts, then it's not tooting your own horn. That's just factual information. And that took a long time to sink into this little brain. These rumors